Kofi looked in horror as the mermaid's magic slowly turned him and his friends into crabs, mermaids, and octopus in front of his eyes. He couldn't believe what was happening, and that this was now his life. He, in that moment, knew he had to escape. In a coastal village, a young man named Kofi was known for his curiosity and bravery. He had always been fascinated by the sea and the mysteries it held, spending his days fishing and exploring the rocky shores. Villagers often spoke of beautiful yet dangerous sea creatures who lured men to the ocean depths to turn them into deep sea creatures, warning young men to stay away from the shore at night. Despite these warnings, the allure of these stories captivated the young men of the village, including Kofi and his friends. One night, Kofi and his friends decided to test the legend. As they approached the shore, they heard a hauntingly beautiful melody. Mesmerized, Kofi felt an irresistible urge to follow the sound. "Kofi, don't do it!" one of his friends shouted, grabbing his arm. "You know the stories, it's not worth the risk." Ignoring their protests, Kofi pulled free, his curiosity overpowering his fear. Kofi ventured further into the water, drawn by the enchanting song. Suddenly, a group of stunning mermaids appeared, their eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. They surrounded Kofi, pulling him beneath the waves. The friends on the shore watched in horror, sprinting into the water to help their friend as he fought the mermaid's grasp. Kofi struggled desperately, trying to resist the mermaid's pull, but their strength was overwhelming. His friends attempted to reach him, shouting and throwing objects into the water, but it was futile. One by one, they were repelled by the powerful waves generated by the mermaids. Kofi was eventually dragged under the water and began being carried deeper into the ocean. Exhausted from rapidly moving through the water, he eventually fell asleep as they approached a giant underwater cavern. When he awoke, he found himself underwater, yet able to breathe, a sensation both strange and terrifying. It became clear that mermaid magic was allowing him to survive. He was in a dimly lit chamber, surrounded by shimmering walls and guarded by mermaids. Panicking, he demanded to know where he was and what they were going to do to him, but his captors remained silent, their expressions unreadable. After some time, a particularly beautiful mermaid swam in. She checked on Kofi, ensuring he was unharmed and examining any wounds he might have sustained. She remarked on how she had heard he fought hard against them. "Who are you? What do you want from me?" Kofi asked, his voice shaking. "My name is Nerida," she replied, her voice soothing and calm. "I am your guardian mermaid. It is my task to ensure you work hard and stay healthy." Kofi felt a strange mix of fear and fascination towards Nerida. Despite the situation, her presence was oddly comforting. "Why am I here? What are you going to do to me?" he demanded. "You are here to help sustain our civilization and ourselves," Nerida explained gently. "We require the life force of human men to maintain our magic and beauty. It is time to prepare you for the transformation ceremony." Kofi's heart sank as he realized the myths were true. He really was about to be transformed. Kofi was handcuffed and bound, led out of the chamber by a group of mermaids with Nerida, his guardian, at the front. They escorted him through a series of shimmering hallways, each more beautiful and eerie than the last, until they reached a massive, ornately decorated room. The transformation room was unlike anything Kofi had ever seen. The walls were covered in glowing bioluminescent plants, and the floor was made of smooth, polished coral. In the center of the room, a large, intricately carved stone altar stood, surrounded by enchanted artifacts and glowing runes. Kofi was pushed to the back of the line, where he could see the other captured men, bound and frightened, awaiting their fate. He watched in horror as, one by one, the men before him were dragged to the altar. Each man was subjected to a different transformation tailored to the mermaid's needs. The air was thick with the sounds of chanting and the eerie glow of the mermaid's magic. First in line was a young man named Kwame who trembled as his body began to change. The mermaid's magic enveloped him, and his legs fused into a powerful tail. His transformation into a merman was almost serene, the magic quelling any pain he might have felt. Next was a man named Tunde, who watched in wide-eyed terror as his body shrank and hardened, turning into a human-sized crab. His transformation complete, Tunde scuttled away, his new form surprisingly agile. Another man, Olu, became an octopus, his limbs elongating and multiplying as he writhed on the floor. The magic made the process smooth and painless, though no less terrifying to witness. Kofi's heart pounded as he watched each transformation, the fear and desperation of the men before him seeping into his bones. The room was filled with the murmurs and gasps of the captives, each one adding to the growing sense of dread in Kofi's mind. He could feel his resolve hardening with each passing moment, his determination to escape and retain his humanity growing stronger. Finally, it was Kofi's turn. He was dragged to the altar, his mind racing with fear and anger. The mermaids began their chanting, their voices rising and falling in a haunting melody. Kofi's body started to change, his legs fusing together and transforming into a sleek, powerful tail. He felt a strange sensation as his skin became smooth and his body streamlined, transforming him into a merman. The magic quelled any pain, but the transformation left him feeling disoriented and vulnerable. Despite the smoothness of the process, Kofi clenched his teeth, determined not to show his captors any weakness. After the transformation was complete, Kofi lay on the cold, polished coral floor, gasping for breath. His new tail felt foreign and heavy, and he struggled to move it. Nerida swam over to him, her expression a mix of concern and satisfaction. She helped him to a sitting position, her touch gentle but firm. "You did well, Kofi," she said softly. "The transformation can be disorienting, but you'll get used to it. We need you to be strong and healthy for the tasks ahead." Kofi looked around, his eyes wide with a mix of fear and curiosity. The other transformed men were being led away, each adjusting to their new forms in various ways. Some moved with surprising grace, while others stumbled and fell, still getting used to their altered bodies. Nerida stayed by his side, guiding him to a smaller, more private chamber adjacent to the main transformation room. This room was less intimidating, filled with soft glowing lights and comfortable resting places made of seaweed and coral. She handed him a glowing spherical object which pulsed gently in his hand. "Eat this," she instructed. "It will help you regain your strength." Kofi took the object hesitantly and bit into it. The taste was unfamiliar but not unpleasant, and he could feel a warm, soothing energy spreading through his body as he consumed it. Slowly he began to feel more in control of his new form, his movements becoming less awkward. As he adjusted, Nerida explained his new reality. "You are now part of our world, Kofi. Your strength and abilities will be crucial to sustaining our civilization. We require your help to maintain our magic and beauty, which are essential for our survival." Kofi listened, his mind racing with questions and fears. "What exactly do you need me to do?" he asked, his voice steady but laced with apprehension. Nerida smiled gently. "You will assist in various tasks around our city, from gathering resources to helping maintain our magical artifacts. Your new form will grant you abilities that will be valuable to us. But remember, your well-being is tied to our magic. We need you to stay healthy and strong." As Kofi was led away by Nerida, he felt his stomach drop, realizing this was his life, and the strength of the mermaids would make escape impossible. Immediately after the men were transformed, they were taken to their cells. Some mermaids visited the cells to seduce the newly transformed mermen, offering comfort and promising better treatment in exchange for loyalty. Kofi observed Serafina, a strikingly beautiful mermaid, entering Kwame's cell. She whispered promises of better treatment and privileges if he agreed to spy on the other captives and report any signs of rebellion. "Think about it, Kwame," Serafina purred, her fingers tracing his jawline. "You could live comfortably, have anything you desire. Just tell me what the others are planning." Kwame hesitated, clearly torn between his desire for freedom and the temptation Serafina offered. Kofi watched from the shadows, his resolve hardening. He knew he had to be cautious and keep his secrets well guarded. In another cell, a mermaid named Thalassa approached Tunde, who had been transformed into a human-sized crab. "Your new form is perfect for breaking down the walls of hidden caves. With your strength, you can achieve so much. Just think about it." Tunde, still disoriented from his transformation, seemed skeptical but intrigued by Thalassa's words. "I don't know. It sounds too good to be true." Thalassa smiled warmly. "Trust me, Tunde. We can make your existence here much more pleasant." Meanwhile, Nerida entered the cell of a young man named Olu, now an octopus. She complimented him on his new form. "Olu, with your agility and many arms, you'll be perfect for retrieving delicate artifacts. You have the potential to be one of our best." Olu, flattered but cautious, responded, "I'll do my best, but I can't promise anything." Nerida nodded, satisfied with his tentative agreement. "That's all we ask, Olu. Just try your best." Not all men were easily swayed. A merman named Jabu vehemently refused a mermaid named Calypso's advances. "I don't care what you offer me. I won't be your pawn." Calypso's eyes narrowed, but she maintained her composure. "Very well, Jabu, but remember, cooperation makes life here easier." In contrast, another man named Adi fell for the seduction almost immediately. A mermaid named Melusine praised his courage and resilience, and Ade, starved for affection and comfort, quickly agreed to whatever she suggested. "I'll do whatever you want, Melusine. Just help me feel like myself again." Kofi observed these interactions, noting the varied responses of his fellow captives. Some resisted fiercely, while others succumbed to the mermaid's charm. The diverse reactions showed the complexity of their situation, with each man dealing with his new reality in his own way. Kofi was assigned to help maintain the enchanted artifacts that powered the city's magic. These artifacts were located in a secluded section of the city, away from the main areas where the mermaids resided. The chamber where the artifacts were kept was vast, filled with glowing relics and intricate carvings that pulsed with magical energy. This task required precision and care, as the artifacts were delicate and essential to the mermaids' power. While the men were assigned to their various tasks, mermaids interacted with them more intimately. During Kofi's time maintaining the enchanted artifacts, Serafina tried to seduce him, using her charm to manipulate and control him. "Kofi, you don't have to suffer here," Serafina whispered, leaning close. "I can make things easier for you. Just tell me what you know about the others' plans." Kofi resisted her advances, determined to keep his knowledge and plans secret. He realized that the mermaids were willing to use any means necessary to maintain control. He also observed how the other workers were treated differently based on their responses to the mermaids' advances. Some were given better tasks and more comfortable conditions if they cooperated, while others who resisted faced harsher treatment. Kofi deduced that this was another method the mermaids used to keep the men loyal and compliant. Kofi realized he needed more information. he noticed an older, wiser-looking captive named Ebo. Unlike the other captives, Ebo was not involved in heavy labor. Instead, he moved with a sense of purpose and confidence that intrigued Kofi. Ebo appeared to have a special role in maintaining the more complex artifacts, and he often worked alone, seemingly trusted by the mermaids. Curious about Ebo's unique status, Kofi approached him cautiously. Ebo, why aren't you doing any of the heavy work like the rest of us? Kofi asked, lowering his voice to avoid attracting attention. Ebo sighed deeply, his eyes filled with a mix of wisdom and sorrow. I've been here for many years, Kofi. I was one of the first to be taken. Over time, I've gained the mermaids' trust by working with these artifacts. They rely on my knowledge to maintain their power, so they've assigned me to this task. Kofi's interest was piqued. You must know so much about this place and the mermaids. Tell me, what have you learned? Ebo leaned closer, his voice barely above a whisper. The mermaid's power comes from a magical pearl hidden deep within the city, in a heavily guarded chamber. It's the source of their magic and control over us. If we can get to it and destroy it, their control will weaken, and we might have a chance to escape. Kofi's heart raced at the revelation. But what about the food? It keeps us compliant. How can we fight back if we're always under its influence? Ebo looked troubled. That's the issue, Kofi. I've attacked without eating the food, but I was so weak that it didn't work. We need to figure out how to get around the enchantment the food places on us. This revelation gave Kofi a glimmer of hope for escaping. He began to talk to some other captives, sharing what he had learned from Ebo. However, not all were convinced. The mermaids' influence and the comfort they provided made it difficult for some to see beyond their immediate situation, and this proved especially true after the mermaids' first nighttime visit. Kofi was shocked to see what the mermaids were actually willing to do to maintain control